Sega. Good timing. So a new Sonic game came out, and people seem pretty happy with it, which is great. I'm always rooting for the Sonic fans to get something that they actually want instead of the utter dreck that Sega generally shovels in their direction, sort of disguised as a Sonic game.
Yeah, there hasn't been an actual good Sonic game. Wasn't
there a Game Boy Advance or a DS one that people kind of liked?
Yeah, Sonic Rush. Sonic Rush is pretty decent.
Okay.
It's from the same people who did that. Dimps is the name of that company. They also did.
All right. Oh, for the record, I am playing Sonic the Hedgehog.
Yes, the original.
This is OG Sonic. This is where it all began. Where
Is this on the?
He has two distinct eyeballs in this game.
That's how you can tell.
Yeah. He's wagging his finger at me right now.
Yep.
That is the sound that I most associate with the Sega Genesis. Even though I never had one and never really played very much of this game. I don't think. Anyway.
Hence this series.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So, Sonic... yes, the last Sonic game that I played that I actually enjoyed, man, Sonic 3 and Knuckles, I guess, probably.
Okay.
People told me that Sonic Generations and Sonic Colors were both good, but
I
by
heard
that
those
point,
were both pretty good. Yeah.
Yeah, by that point, I was already like, fool me once, shame on you, fool me like 7 times, shame on me, so I just was like, nah. I think there's been enough good praise about Sonic Mania that I actually will check it out.
Yeah, a lot of that game, a significant portion of that game is like remixed versions of levels from Sonic 1 and 2, I believe. So
yeah, that seems to be.
There's a lot of new bosses and stuff. As I understand, I've not actually played that game, but it sounds like a faithful reimagining of the things people liked about the early Sonic games.
Yeah, it seems that way. And it was made by people who had done Sonic fan games prior, I guess, and stuff like that.
I know. I was hoping Coffee would show up, because he actually bought it for his Switch.
Oh, nice.
So I was hoping he would show up and talk about it a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, maybe he will. He's online right now. We could pester him.
Yeah, you should send him a message. Anyway, so Sonic 1 came out in 1991, according to the title screen. The same year as Super Mario World. So Sonic was doomed to always be the runner-up.
Yeah, I mean, that's...
Yeah. And I have a deep appreciation for Sonic 2, which is the only one in the series that I played to completion, but...
Sonic 2 is the best Sonic game in my estimation.
Yeah. Does this game not have the...
Spin Dash. It does not have a Spin Dash.
Because we were talking before we started that I was not sure how much of this game that I've actually played, because it's hard for me to distinguish between the first two Sonics in the same way that it is difficult for me to distinguish between the first two Lethal Weapons. Like, the plots of those two movies like have coagulated in my brain in such a way that...
Only one has a surprise helicopter.
It's true, and only one of them has Danny Glover stuck on a bathtub bomb, which is the second one.
Well, toilet bomb.
Yeah, and they jump into the bathtub. Pardon me.
Yeah.
But for some reason, it takes me like a minute to figure out exactly like where those two movies diverge from each other, and I feel like that about Sonic 1 and 2. Although Sonic 2 has Tails, obviously, and the Spin Dash, and so one of those things is to the Sonic universe what Joe Pesci is to the Lethal Weapon universe.
Tails is Joe Pesci.
Okay. Because the Spin Dash is actually good, and Tails is okay. Like, Joe Pesci is actually okay in Sonic 2, but then they added, like, Rene Russo, and, yeah, what did I say?
You said Joe Pesci is okay in Sonic 2.
Okay, yeah, he's great in Sonic 2. OC, do not steal. But yeah, so Joe Pesci's, he's totally fine.
You're having a lot of trouble with this loop-de-loop.
Yeah, I can't do it. I don't have a Spin Dash, so I don't have Joe Pesci.
You just keep running forward. You just keep holding right.
Right.
Like, it seems like you're pressing left because you're going upside down, but you don't do that.
I'm pushing
just
up.
Keep holding right.
I want his feet to stay on the ground.
I'm
also trying to suss out all this Tails Joe Pesci connections.
Right. So there's actually a hidden ending in Sonic 2 where Tails says, "How the fuck am I funny?"
And then Big the Cat has a fist fight with Jet Li.
Yes.
Well, Chris Rock does awful comedy shtick.
Right.
Yeah.
The lethal weapon
Chris Rock
went downhill, didn't they?
Yeah. I love Chris Rock, but Chris Rock is definitely like the Shadow of the Hedgehog or whatever of the Lethal Weapon universe.
Lethal Weapon. Yeah.
What other shitty Sonic character? The only ones Big the Cat for whatever reason is the only one I can ever conjure up immediately.
Amy Rose, is that a thing?
Yeah.
She's maybe a lady
There's a
hedgehog.
whole bunch of them in Sonic Adventure, which is the only other Sonic game that I've ever finished. Because I was so hungry for Dreamcast games. I had kind of convinced myself that game was okay, but it is not.
I'm sort of passingly familiar with Sonic 06, even though I personally have never played it.
Mm-hmm. Is that the one where he kisses the human woman?
That is the one where he kisses the human woman, which is just like, oh my god. Like, I've seen some of those cutscenes on YouTube and stuff, and it's just like the most cringy shit ever, and it's like it's a mystery to figure out who thought that was a good idea.
Right. Well, I mean, obviously the people that created Sonic Adventure thought that was a good idea because, like, when you say Sonic Adventure, the thing that immediately should pop into your brain is
running away from a killer whale.
Right, the thing that you saw in the demo and all the kiosks at Toys R Us or whatever. But
yeah,
like that game is set in a city with real people and a crazy weird alien, and like that game kind of goes off the rails immediately.
Yeah. I mean, here's the thing, and I think that the press that Sonic Mania is getting, I think bears this out. 3D Sonic is a shit idea.
Yeah.
Like, putting Sonic in 3D is just a shit idea. And maybe there's someone who could do it. I just haven't found anyone who can, because none of the 3D Sonic games I've played were good.
Yeah.
I played the one that I played that was like sort of playable was Sonic and the Secret Rings, because it basically played like a racing game. Like, there's almost no platforming. It just puts you on a track. Like
that Sonic racing game that came out like 7 or 8 years ago.
Well, actually, so I Sonic and All-Stars Racing Transformed, which is the second one.
Yeah, that game is like a legitimately really good kart racing game.
Yeah, I like that game a lot. But that's Sonic driving a car.
Right. No, I mean, it's
Sonic
in the 3D world, kind of.
Well, yeah, but it's Mario Kart, right? It's not Mario Galaxy, it's Mario Kart.
Anyway, so before we started, when I first loaded this up, I booted up Super Mario World, just because it's hard for me to. Oh, I need this one ring, or else I'm gonna die. So like one of the problems I think I have with these 2D Sonic games is the fact that Sonic is too much in the middle of the screen. I think I would like it more if it was a little bit more like Contra. Because, you know, like in Contra, like your guys never go past like a third of the back third of the screen unless you're in co-op mode. And I feel like if these games were zoomed out a little bit more and Sonic was pushed back a little bit so I could see a little bit more of what was in front of me, then I would enjoy the fast aspects of it a little bit more. Because I feel like when you're doing the thing that Sonic is famous for doing, which is running real fast, I really lose track of what the hell is going on. And I feel like just a little bit of extra, like an extra third of the screen would make a huge difference for me. I think maybe I lost Joe. So, it's just me sitting here talking about Sonic. Oh no, there he is.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can now.
You weren't hearing me clearly, and then I looked and my little thing wasn't bouncing, so I changed the setting and rebooted.
Yay!
So I was saying that, you know, Super Mario World and Sonic the Hedgehog, one of those games has aged very well, and one of them less so.
Right.
To
be fair, though, to be fair to Mario did have 3 previous entries to build off of, whereas Sonic is...
Yeah, but Super Mario Brothers has arguably aged.
All right, fair enough. Super Mario
you know,
Brothers
I'm-
reinvented a genre, which you cannot say about
Right.
Sonic.
The only ones that I would say are on a level, kind of, are like Sonic 2 and Mario 2. Like, are maybe I know you like some Mario 2 a lot. So
I love Mario
true for you,
2. I love the enemies. I love the gameplay in that game, but I feel like the level design in that game is a little off.
some of it's real bad.
Yeah.
But
Like-
I think that probably Sonic 2 is like just as good as Mario 2. But other than that, Mario games pretty much like eat the lunch of Sonic games
Yeah.
forever and ever. Like,
And it's kind of not fair. Like it's
right.
they really
right.
shouldn't be compared because they're not the same thing. It's just like that's Sega's marketing department doing Sonic a disservice by
Yeah.
like,
Well,
making,
right at the time they was doing him a good service though, right? Because people
Yes.
bought into that marketing, that hype
Yeah.
marketing. Now it's doing him a disservice for sure. But I mean, I think I mean, I like Mario games a lot. Like, I mean, since we've been doing this shtick that we do, like, I mean, how many of my Game of the Year games have been Mario platformers? So, like, probably not the guy to ask. Like, you know, but I like Sonic games. I mean, and I want to like more of them. It's just like you said, Sega just keeps shitting out like these awful things, and I'm actually really excited to actually try Sonic Mania.
Hi.
Hey, it's Morbid
And,
Coffee,
hey, Morbid
Hey.
Coffee,
the man who has
owns
played Sonic Mania.
Sonic Mania.
Yes.
What's
I
up with
have.
Sonic Mania, man?
It's really good, except for the bosses, which are really gimmicky.
Oh, are they? I heard that the bosses were one of the more interesting things in the game. Can both of those statements be true, that they are interesting but
Yes.
also annoying and gimmicky?
They are
Are they
interesting.
worse, better or worse than Deus Ex Human Resources?
I never made it past the first like 2 hours of that game, so I can't say.
Well, the bosses were shit, so.
Um,
Also, Poverty Game Night says he's happy that Sonic is allowed to be cute again.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
yeah, so my problem with the bosses is like you think back to old Sonic games, and literally every boss was wait for them to do the thing and then jump on them.
Hmm.
So they tried to switch that up, which is the interesting part. So all the bosses have a gimmick.
Do you-
I see what you did there.
Yeah.
do you jump on them and then wait for them to do a thing?
No,
instead?
the problem is they put you in different situations, and almost all the time you're going to die the first time you do the boss because you have no idea what's going on.
Okay, I mean that's
I don't
fine. That's
necessarily
Dark
have a problem
Souls
with
works
that.
like that. A lot of
The
good games are like
second
that.
problem is when you actually figure out how to do it, it's a
Uh-huh.
real pain in the ass to do it on some of the fights.
Okay.
So for one
No, don't go in there, Seal. I
one
guess it's okay.
example, and minor spoilers if anyone cares about Sonic lore that much or Sonic in general.
I definitely do.
One of the fights is Metal Sonic. Now, instead of fighting him normally, you have to ricochet an enemy off the walls to hit him, which is fucking bullshit.
Is it bullshit because it's like really difficult and not fun? or-
It's really annoying until you figure out like where to stand properly, and then you can just repeat that like 3 or 4 times and you win. But trying to figure out what spot to stand in was the frustrating part. Because like you would hit him and they would bounce around like miss, and it's like everything's just gone to shit.
Okay.
But that's probably the worst offender in the entire game. That and the Hydra City boss was annoying as shit. Because the entire time you're fighting him underwater, and the only way to get an air bubble is to actually hit him.
When you hit him, does he fart?
No.
You have to.
Oh, yeah, he farts and then you suck up his fart bubble.
Okay, good.
Get air.
That's very good. Ah. Oh man.
But there are some bosses that are fun.
Okay.
It's just there's like 2 or 3 that are absolute like fan game bullshit, and that pisses me off because the rest of the game is really good.
All right. I mean, that's good though. I mean, a really good but slightly flawed Sonic game is a huge improvement over what.
It's the highest rated Sonic game in 15 years.
Is it?
That's low bar.
What was the What's the one before that?
Sonic Adventure 2 would
I
be
don't
about
know.
15 years
I honestly
ago.
don't know.
Yeah, I was trying to
Maybe?
think. That would be
Um,
2002, right? So.
Yeah.
Oh
I
no.
don't know.
Oh
Yeah, it's
shit.
apparently
Nope.
sitting at like 86 on Metacritic.
What's that? Oh, that's good.
Yes.
Sonic
Well,
Mania.
as long as Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2 is still the best game ever according to Metacritic, then we're fine.
Well, if you want to know how good Sonic Mania is, Jim fucking Sterling likes it a lot and gave it a 9.5.
Excuse me, that's Jim fucking Sterling's son.
Yes. So if he likes it, then it's probably really good.
Maybe. I don't know.
That's good. Like I
He's
said,
probably just happy it doesn't have microtransactions.
I'm just really happy that people that like Sonic have a. I never did get around to playing. What was the name of? No, I can't think of it. There was a game that came out a couple of years ago that was Sonic-esque that had like a very
Freedom
rainbow
Planet.
of furry characters. Yeah.
Freedom Planet.
Freedom Planet. Yes.
I played it for like 20 minutes and I really didn't get into it.
Yeah.
But
I didn't. I never did play it. Although I think I have a copy of it. I always wanted to check it out. It seemed like some of the movement abilities in that was kind of interesting.
yeah, there was a demo for like when Wii U made a big push for indie games. There was a demo of it. I believe is how I played it. And I played it and I don't know, man. It didn't push my
Didn't grab
buttons.
you. Okay.
But
That's fine. I still would like to play that at some
you
point.
should check it out if that's.
It's just hard. There's a lot of good video games these
There's
days.
a lot of video games. Yes.
Oh,
have
you
you
know
played?
what?
Have you played Fire Pro World yet,
Nope.
Eric?
I have not. The only game I've just bought a game called Observer.
I believe we're going to be playing that for part of the
Where I was
regular
going to say,
stream this
yeah, in
evening.
about 15 minutes here, we're going to check that out a little bit. So that is made by some guys that made a horror game. Whoa, shit. Like, I don't like those gotcha bumpers very much.
Yeah,
They're
they
pretty
can
annoying.
They can be sons of bitches.
I mean, I knew that was there, so I obviously could have avoided it, but
Yeah.
they're pretty annoying. So yeah, I just bought that, but that's the first game I've paid for in a while. Since Battlegrounds, I think. But that is definitely on my list. Are they still doing anything with that, or is it still pretty much what it was?
I mean, it's still in early access. I mean, the community has been just making dudes like you, and dudes and ladies. Like
is it
you
getting
wouldn't
to the point
believe.
where it's difficult to sift through all that stuff?
The last time I looked, there were like 6,000 or 7,000 created wrestlers
Yeah.
in the Steam Workshop. So I mean, yes.
Okay. See, like
The
right
thing,
here.
I mean, you kind of use if you use the community.
Yeah.
The community ratings is sort of your guideline. Like you're pretty safe, you know.
Yeah. So like you can see like this is a good example of what I'm talking about, like where I wish the game was either zoomed out a little bit or Sonic was moved like down towards the lower third of the screen. Because there's very little useful information on screen right now for me.
Right.
But like that's actually probably my biggest pet peeve with these games.
Have you seen the
And
animated?
there's also I wish there was a little bit more push. Like there's like the screen moves pretty tightly.
I don't
with
remember you
Sonic
dying
enemies,
that fast if you hit stuff.
Well, so if you hit the spikes twice, you die.
Right,
You can
but
grab a
but
ring while you're in air.
Sonic 1 is not a great game.
Yeah, Sonic
You should
1's
be
also a
playing
little bit
Sonic 2.
is quite a bit more unforgiving than Sonic 2. And much the way Lethal Weapon 2 is quite a bit more unforgiving than Lethal Weapon 1.
I think Lethal Weapon 1 is the better film, to be perfectly honest. Lethal Weapon 1, we're getting back to...
The things that matter. Getting back to Joe's Discord not working properly. So that's Sonic 1. I'm going to stop playing this now.
I can talk about Sonic
So-
Mania some more.
But I do want to,
Yeah.
before we go,
Well-
I'm going to spend like 5 minutes revisiting an old game from Genesis or Genesisn't. Because I played a shitload of that over the weekend and I'm almost done with it.
What is it?
And
Tell
I
me.
thought it might be worth checking out some of the higher level powers and stuff in that because we really don't get a great feel for what's going on in that game until later on.
Is it the one with the isometric Zelda nonsense?
It's Crusader of Senti.
Oh, it's the non-isometric Zelda nonsense.
Yes, it's the one that's just a lot like Zelda.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah.
My
so,
point, while you're changing games, my point about Lethal Weapon was the first movie's a little more serious than the second movie. I think,
yeah,
is the
absolutely.
sort of-
I mean, just the Joe Pesci Tails corollary.
right.
You add in that sidekick with the two tails that can float and also swears a lot, and
Yep.
shit just goes downhill.
So Joe, you might appreciate this.
Yeah.
About Sonic Mania.
Yeah.
The
It's
team
actually-
behind it has a great sense of humor.
Yeah.
So when you do the checkpoint special stages, you unlock coins, and the more coins you get, the more like secret unlocks you get. They're just like bonus things to screw with the game. I just unlocked the mode called End Knuckles mode that puts Knuckles in everything.
Nice.
That's pretty good.
Nice.
So like, as you can see in Crusader of Synthia, anyway, Sonic 1, that game Genesis is totally fine. Like you can still play it. It's okay. It isn't super exciting
I think most of the ports now did add the spin dash
to
I should
Sonic
point
1.
that out.
Okay.
Yeah.
The spin dash,
modern-
that game hurts a lot for not having the spin dash. And much the same way that like the first Mega Man game is hurt a lot by not having the slide.
2 zones is also the perfect.
Mega
number.
Man 2 does not have the slide either,
Oh, no,
and is totally great.
You're sorry, Mega Man. Yeah. Anyway.
I still think Sonic 2 has like the perfect pacing.
Yeah, Sonic 2 is the best Sonic game,
Okay.
I would say.
I meant
but
Sonic. I meant
I
Mega
think-
Man 3, but anyway. So this
Right,
is I don't remember how far exactly we got when we played Crusader of Senti the first time. So you can see I now have this. I can throw the sword, and I also have a bunch of animal companions, which are kind of like the items in Zelda. So I have like this lion, whose name is Leo, and he will give my sword like fire powers. So like I had to fight through an ice zone, and the fire powers came in handy. I had a penguin named Chili who gives my sword ice powers. I have this dog that like stuns enemies. You can like put him in the middle of a pathway, and then he will sit and stay there, and then enemies that touch him will like get stunned. He really hasn't been that useful, but I have this giant dinosaur that I can ride. Like gets me around on things. It's basically like this game's version of the ladder from Legend of Zelda. I have this Leviathan lizard that like doubles my attack speed, so it like takes the combat, which is a little squirrely and like difficult to manage, and makes it a lot easier because you can just swing your sword really fast.
Comes Zelda.
Yeah, I have this butterfly that lets me control my sword in midair, which is kind of dope. And then I also have a squirrel that lets me use the sword and make it like the sword goes like infinitely across the screen, and when it hits things it bounces, and so there's a lot of puzzles that involve you charging up your sword, and I also have the ability to jump, which I don't think I had last time I was playing this. Which is like kind of a game changer. But there's a lot of puzzles that involve you like charging up your sword and throwing it and trying to get it to bounce and hit a switch to open up a different thing. So that's what's up with Crusader of Senti. I still don't think that it's like it ain't Link to the Past, but it's a pretty fucking dope one of these games in its own right. I really wish that the animals actually. They're just like these sprites that float and animate behind you. Which is kind of weird. I wish that they were on the ground and following me like the way that the characters in like Secret of Mana follow you around or whatever, but I also found it cheated that makes me run real fast. The puzzles are so-so. The dialogue and stuff is kind of fucked up in some spaces. Joe's Discord is broken again. But anyway, I wanted to come back to this because it was a game that I didn't feel like I had gotten a great grasp on in a half an hour of play, but now that I played like 7 or 8 hours of it, I know what this game is all about, and this is a fucking really great game that I don't know. I don't think there's a good way to buy a copy of this.
No,
I don't think it's not even in like the Genesis Mega Collections. It's not on like you can't get it in an old.
You basically have to steal it.
Yeah, I don't like it. Yeah, you can't even get it in the.
You can pay like $200 for a cartridge, or you can download a ROM.
Yeah,
is basically the deal with this game. It was published by Atlas, and it never came on Virtual Console or anything like that.
Yep.
So.
That was the other thing I was grasping for and missing. But
yes,
yeah. So it's too bad that you can't play this game anywhere, but it's pretty fucking good. I like it. I like it a whole bunch. I like the different animals' powers kind of interact with each other's in some ways. Not like I would love to have seen a sequel to this game where like the animal powers combined in ways that were a little bit more significant. But and I would like if the combat was a little bit more like Zelda, like I never really got used to the hitbox. Like it's always like in a weird spot, just slightly above your character's head, or slightly to the right of where it feels like it should be, where Zelda, your sword is a thing that hits enemies as long as they're in the path. This game has kind of weird hitboxes that I never really grew to love, but for the most part, it's not an issue. Like, there's some bosses, but they're pretty easy to beat once you figure out their patterns and stuff. So anyway, Crusader of Senti, I gave it a thumbs up the first time we played it, but I like it a whole bunch. And I think that people should, I guess, steal it and play it, because you can't fucking pay anybody to play it legitimately, which is a goddamn shame. Anyway, so that's Sonic the Hedgehog, which is like a tentative thumbs up. Fucking everybody knows what Sonic the Hedgehog is, although I'm glad we got to talk about the new one. And Crusade of Senti, it gets considerably more interesting the farther in you go. And hopefully someday somebody makes it available in a legal fashion for people to play this game. Anyway, that's Genesis or Genesisn't. We'll be back next week with something. I think Joe's picking next time, so Sonic's 3D Blast. That's what we should have played this
Super
week.
Nintendo.
Yeah, that's what I should have put you through, Sonic 3D Blast.
Anyway. Oh.
All right.
Good night.
Well,
Goodbye.
good night, everybody.
We'll be back in a minute with some cruise or some what the
Persona.
fuck? No, yeah, Persona 5.
Yeah, Observer.
Observer. Yes.
Yeah. The Wrestling Observer video game.
Starring Rutger Hauer, which is why I paid $25 for that today. Anyway,
All
bye.
right. Bye.
Bye.